What if the two most powerful warriors from completely different universes met? What if the race that conquered the stars through ki and divine transformations collided with the race that dominated planets through raw strength and perfect biology? This isn't just another battle. This is the end of an entire universe. Today, we are going to find out which race is truly the strongest in fiction, the Saiyans from Dragon Ball or the Viltrumites from Invincible. But before anything else, forget what you think you know. Because when you look at the real numbers, the real abilities, the real biology of these two races, the answer might surprise you in a way you never expected. Let's start from the beginning. The Saiyans were born on planet Vegeta under the rule of Frieza's empire. For centuries, they were used as tools of conquest, mercenary warriors, destroyers of worlds. But their story goes far beyond that. Saiyan biology is, scientifically speaking, an anomaly. They are born with a level of ki that grows exponentially after every battle. Every time a Saiyan is pushed to the brink of death and survives, their body responds with a massive increase in power. This phenomenon has a name, Zenkai, and it's not just a metaphor. It's a real physiological mechanism within the Dragon Ball universe. And it doesn't stop there. Saiyans possess the ability to transform. Great Ape, the first transformation, multiplies their base power by 10 under the light of a full moon. But of course, the story doesn't end there. As the years passed, as Goku and Vegeta advanced through each saga, these transformations escalated in ways that completely defy logic. Super Saiyan, a myth among the Saiyans, something that hadn't appeared for thousands of years. A power so terrifying that Frieza himself feared the possibility of it becoming real. And when Goku transformed for the first time on Namek, the Dragon Ball universe changed forever. But that was only the beginning. Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan Blue, Ultra Instinct, Ultra Ego. Each of these forms represents more than just an increase in power. They represent a qualitative evolution in what a Saiyan is capable of becoming. In Ultra Instinct, Goku's body moves independently from his mind. Dodging and counter-attacking happen in fractions of a second beneath conscious thought. This isn't just speed, it's an entirely different state of existence. And the Viltrumites? On the other side of the cosmos exists a race that doesn't need transformations, doesn't need ki or spiritual power. The Viltrumites are, biologically, the most optimized combat species ever introduced in Invincible. They come from Viltrum, a planet shaped by brutal natural selection. For centuries, the weaker Viltrumites were exterminated by the stronger ones. What remained was a race where every individual represents the absolute peak of physical evolution. Superhuman strength, speeds capable of interstellar travel without equipment, durability that allows them to survive in the vacuum of space, tear through atmospheres, and endure impacts powerful enough to devastate cities or even continents. And there's something that makes them even more terrifying. They barely age. A Viltrumite at their peak can live for thousands of years with little to no physical decline. Omni-Man, one of the first Viltrumites we see in action, is over 2,000 years old. And he's stronger now than he's ever been. On top of that, Viltrumites possess an incredibly advanced healing factor. Lost limbs and destroyed organs can recover over time. This isn't narrative exaggeration. It's canon Viltrumite biology. And the scariest part of all, their weakness is almost impossible to exploit in real combat. Their vulnerability to the Viltrumite virus was eventually overcome in the main timeline. And the sonic frequencies capable of destabilizing them require extremely specific equipment that's nearly impossible to use effectively during battle. So what happens when these two races collide? Let's break it down carefully, because this is where the discussion gets serious. In terms of raw physical power, Viltrumites are consistently shown tearing through planets, like Omni-Man did on the Flaxen world, and surviving impacts capable of reshaping moons and causing planetary-scale destruction. Mark Grayson, still young and far from his prime, has already survived feats of durability that are almost impossible to comprehend. In Dragon Ball, the numbers become even more absurd. But there's an important distinction. Saiyans are not, at their core, physically superior organisms. They are ki users. And Ki isn't just offensive energy. Ki is the life force that flows through every living thing in the Dragon Ball universe. It's a power that transcends conventional physics. When Goku fires a Kamehameha in his blue form, he's not simply releasing kinetic energy. He's concentrating a force that operates on an entirely different level of reality. And this brings us to the question almost nobody asks. Could a Viltrumite even resist Ki? In Dragon Ball, beings without spiritual training or Ki control react very differently to Ki-based attacks. This isn't speculation, it's shown repeatedly throughout the series. The gap between those who can wield Ki and those who cannot is enormous. A Viltrumite, no matter how physically durable, has never faced anything that operates beyond conventional physical laws. But the Saiyans have a massive weakness too. The Saiyans' problem isn't power, it's numbers. When planet Vegeta was destroyed, the Saiyan race was nearly wiped out. The number of pure-blooded Saiyans left alive is incredibly small. Goku, Vegeta. A few rare exceptions like Broly, depending on the continuity. In a full-scale war between races, that's catastrophic. The Viltrumites, at the height of their empire, conquered huge portions of the Andromeda Galaxy. They fight as a military force. They use strategy, coordination, and overwhelming numbers. When the Viltrumite Empire attacks, it's never just one warrior. It's multiple elite beings fighting together with terrifying efficiency. In a prolonged war of attrition, the Saiyans would likely lose simply because of their extreme numerical disadvantage. But Dragon Ball was never about wars of attrition. And that's where things become interesting, because the Saiyans possess something the Viltrumites can never truly replicate: escalation. A Viltrumite grows stronger gradually over centuries of combat and experience. Their evolution is linear. A Saiyan can double, triple, or multiply their power by incomprehensible amounts in a matter of days. A single near-death battle can trigger a Zenkai boost powerful enough to erase the gap between two fighters. And the transformations aren't just cosmetic. Every new form represents a fundamental leap in the nature of a Saiyan's power. Super Saiyan God isn't simply stronger, it's divine power. And divine power in Dragon Ball operates under entirely different rules from normal physical reality. When Goku reaches Mastered Ultra Instinct against Jiren during the Tournament of Power, he isn't just hitting harder, he's existing differently during combat. His consciousness and his body function separately within the fight itself. That's not something Viltrumite durability can simply absorb. And now we arrive at the question that truly matters. If you put Ultra Instinct Goku against Omni-Man at the absolute peak of his power, who wins? At the highest levels, the gap overwhelmingly favors Goku. But the real debate isn't about the strongest individuals, it's about the races themselves. As races, the Viltrumites are more consistent, more numerous, and more militarized. Every one of them is an elite combatant with centuries of experience. They are a conquest machine. The Saiyans possess a much higher ceiling, but it's a ceiling that only a handful of individuals have ever reached. So what's the final answer? It depends on how you define strongest. In maximum individual power, the Saiyans win without question. In terms of consistency, reliability, and large-scale warfare, the Viltrumites hold the advantage. But here's the thought that will stay in your head after this video. What would happen if a Viltrumite learned to use Ki from birth? If a being with Viltrumite durability, immortality, and physical perfection learned to manipulate Ki like a Saiyan? Because in Dragon Ball, any living being with life energy can theoretically learn Ki control. A Viltrumite with mastery over Ki would be absolutely terrifying. And that question has no canonical answer. At least, not yet. What we do know is this. These two races represent the absolute peak of what combat-focused science fiction has ever imagined. There is no definitive winner without context. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you in the next one.